Lisa Caldwell, a tourist convinced that she was in charge wherever she went, pushed a royal guard and demanded a photo. But her arrogance quickly turned into humiliation, shocking everyone who witnessed the scene. London, Buckingham Palace. A day filled with tourists buzzing with excitement. The Golden Gates gleamed under the midday sun as people swarmed the area, snapping photos and searching for the best angles. Some were filming, others striking exaggerated poses, while a few debated where they could find a decent cup of tea nearby. Among the crowd, Lisa stood out, dressed in a garish pink t-shirt with the words Queen of Everything printed in glittery letters. She carried a camera like a royal scepter. Her face bore the expression of someone used to getting exactly what she wanted. She barked orders at her husband, Mark, a quiet, thin man who looked as if he'd rather be anywhere else. Mark, take a picture of me here. No, wait, over there by the gates, she commanded loudly. And after that, we're going over to those funny little soldiers. By funny little soldiers, Lisa meant the Queen's Guard. One of them stood near the gates, completely still. His towering bearskin hat, sharp uniform, gave him an air of authority. His gaze was steady, seemingly fixed on infinity, a symbol of discipline and tradition, qualities that Lisa seemed oblivious to. Tourists respectfully admired the guards, snapping photos from a distance. Some attempted to get a reaction, but no one dared cross the white line that separated them from the sentries. No one except Lisa. Mark, get the camera ready, she declared, striding toward the guard. Mark sighed but made no move to stop her, perhaps knowing it was pointless. Lisa halted just short of the white line, staring at the guard as if daring him to acknowledge her. He, of course, did not react. Hey, soldier boy, she shouted. Smile for the camera. The crowd froze. A few phones were already raised, recording. Everyone knew this wouldn't end well. Everyone except Lisa. The guard remained motionless, his face unreadable. What? Can't hear me? Lisa scoffed. I said smile. She took another step, now fully crossing the white line. The murmurs of disapproval in the crowd grew louder. Is she serious? Someone whispered. You're not supposed to cross that line, another muttered. This isn't Disneyland. But Lisa only heard herself. Stop standing there like a statue, she barked, placing her hands on her hips. You're here to entertain us. She turned to Mark, who was now shifting uncomfortably. Mark, get the camera out. I'm about to take the picture of the century. The guard remained unshaken, his discipline unbroken. That only enraged Lisa further. Are you ignoring me? She yelled, her voice so loud that nearby pigeons scattered from the palace roof. I'm not giving up. Lisa's lack of respect reached its peak when she took another bold step forward and, in a shocking display of audacity, pushed the guard on the shoulder. The crowd gasped. Cries of shock and disapproval erupted. Oh my God, she pushed him. That's too far. She could be arrested for that. Lisa, either deaf to their protests or choosing to ignore them, smirked in satisfaction. She thought she had finally broken through to the guard. Well, now that I've got your attention, she said smugly, stop pretending to be a statue and take a picture with me. For a moment, the guard remained still, as if deciding whether to let the incident slide. But Lisa's push was more than just a provocation. It was a physical breach that demanded a response. He stepped forward. The movement was smooth, deliberate, and filled with authority. The very air around him seemed to shift, heavy with the weight of his discipline. For the first time, his gaze moved, locking directly onto Lisa. Madam, he said, his voice low, steady, and commanding. Step back. Lisa hesitated, as if her brain struggled to process his words. Madam, step back. It was a cold shower that should have snapped her to reality. But this was Lisa. Straightening up as though preparing for battle, she bellowed loud enough for people down the street to hear. Are you telling me what to do? Her face flushed a deep crimson. Hands firmly on her hips, she stepped even closer, nearly toe-to-toe with the guard. "You work for us, the tourists," she continued, her voice dripping with indignation. "We come here, spend money to see you, and you owe it to me to do what I ask." The crowd murmured in disbelief. "This is too much," someone whispered. "She's completely lost it." Another muttered sarcastically, "What's next?" "She expects the queen herself to pose for her selfie." Lisa, oblivious to the judgment surrounding her, reached out as if to grab the guard's arm and physically turn him toward the camera. And that's when fate intervened. She failed to notice a small wet patch on the stone pavement, left behind by the morning's light drizzle. As she stepped forward, her foot slipped. The crowd held its breath. Lisa flailed her arms wildly, resembling a clumsy ballerina trying to regain balance. But gravity had other plans. With a shriek that sounded more like a startled seagull, Lisa crashed onto the stone pavement, landing flat on her back with a resounding thud. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the crowd erupted into laughter. "Well, there's the show she was asking for," someone shouted. "Queen of everything, huh?" "The ground disagrees," another added. Lisa lay sprawled, her face beet red with rage and humiliation. She whipped her head toward Mark, who had wisely kept a safe distance. "Mark, help me out." But Mark, for the first time, seemed to enjoy himself. A grin spread across his face as he pulled out his phone. "Mark, are you crazy?" Lisa shrieked, flailing. "Stop recording and help me." "Lisa, darling," Mark chuckled. "This video is going viral." Meanwhile, the guard, maintaining his composure, adjusted his uniform slightly and returned to his post as though nothing had happened. His unwavering professionalism only emphasized Lisa's ridiculous spectacle. The crowd clapped. Some waved at the guard in admiration. Others shouted praises. "Bravo, sir. True discipline." Lisa, now trembling with rage, finally managed to stand. Her eyes darted between the laughing crowd, her smirking husband, and the impassive guard. She searched for someone to blame. "This is all your fault," she screeched, glaring at the damp pavement. "Why didn't anyone warn me? It was slippery." A tourist shouted back. "You wanted the guard to announce it? Careful, Madam Lisa, the ground is wet." Laughter rippled through the square. Lisa, seething, turned on her heel and stormed off. By the next day, the internet was ablaze with videos of her humiliation. Meanwhile, the guard stood tall, embodying tradition, discipline, and quiet strength, unshaken, undefeated, and as always, the true face of Buckingham Palace.